in this section we are going to look at how to find the slope of a line from 2 points. We've already done this a couple different ways. So one way that we've done this is, for example 1 says find the slope of the line that passes through 2, 7, and negative 1, 4. So one thing that we have done is we've just graphed these points. So 2, 7, and negative 1, 4 would look like this. So we have just been, this would have a line through it here. And one thing that we have just done is rise over run. So we would go up 3. Our change in y would be up a positive 3. And our change in x, our run, that would be to the right 3. So that would give us 3 over 3, which is 1. Okay, so that's one way we have learned to do this. Another possibility that you have already done is to make yourself a little table. So x, y, you would have 2, 7, and negative 1, 4. And so your change in y, this goes down 3. And then from 2 to negative 1, that also goes down 3. So your change in y over your change in x is negative 3 over negative 3. And negative 3 divided by negative 3 is also 1. So either way, the slope of this graph right here is 1. So those are some things we've already looked at. However, we are going to get some problems that look like these next couple. And on number 2, this graph does not really fit. These points are not going to fit on most graphs that you are able to graph. So graphing is not a very good option here. We could still make a table. We could still do x and y. And so we could do 20, 15, and we could do negative 35, 45. And so if we did this, we would need to know the difference between these two. And so sometimes when you have a little bit larger numbers, the difference is a little harder to see. So to find that difference, I've been telling you that you would do 45 minus 15 to find that change in y. So you take the bottom, you subtract the top. And so that would give you positive 30. So that goes up 30. That one's probably pretty easy to see just by looking at it. The bottom is a little more difficult. You're going from positive 20 to negative 35. So if you're having a little trouble figuring out what that is, you could do bottom number, negative 35, minus the top number, minus 20. And so when you do that, negative 35 minus 20 is negative 55. So this side right here, we went down by 55. So right here, this will reduce. We could divide both of those by 5. That would give us 6 over negative 11 for that. So we'd get, I guess we could write that negative out front. Negative 6 over 11 would be our slope here. So if you kind of look at what we did right here to find our change in y, we subtracted the x's, and to find our change in x, we subtract, that was y there on top, and we subtracted our x's for the denominator. So you can stick to using this table method if you would like. You've got x, y, you've got negative 2, 7, you've got negative 12, 7. So here we would see our change in y would be 0. Our change in x here would be, we're going from negative 2 to negative 12, so that would be negative 10. So our change in y over change in x would be 0 over negative 10, and 0 divided by negative 10 is 0. 0 on the top is okay. So, to do that though, notice that what I did to get this 0 is I did 7 minus 7 over negative 12 minus negative 2. And so 7 minus 7 is 0. This would both become positives here, and we'd have negative 10. So that gives us, of course, the same answer that we found here. So, so we can stick with the table if we want, but I would like for us to sort of shift to using a formula for this. And so our slope formula is given to us on the next slide. And on the next slide, we see that if we have 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, then we can use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If you kind of think of the table method that we were doing, if we wrote down these points, we'd have x1, y1 would be our first point, and x2, y2 would be our second point. So to find that change in y, we would do y2 minus y1. That's what we see here. And then to find the change in x, we do y2 minus change in x would be x2 minus x1, which is what we see down here in the denominator. So, this is a method that we can use. It makes it a little bit quicker so that you don't have to make a table. So, if you're looking at this equation here, this is an x-coordinate, this is a y-coordinate, this is an x-coordinate, this is a y-coordinate. It does not matter which one is the 1s and which ones are the 2s. But if this is x1, this has to be y1. If this is x2, this has to be x2. We cannot switch those up where we have an x1 with a y2. So, so if I'm doing this, these little 1s and 2s just mean this is my first x, my first y, my second x, and my second y. So I've got to do change in y over change in x. So to do that, I would subtract my y's. So take the second one, which is 5, and subtract the first one, which is 7, over, and for my change in x, I've got x2, which is my second x, negative 8, minus, and then my x1 is 2 here. So 5 minus 7 is going to give me negative 2. Negative 8 minus 2 is going to give me negative 10. Negative over negative gives a positive number, and 2 over 10 will reduce, so we'll have 1 over 5. Moved on me there, 1 over 5. So that would be the slope of this line. Okay, so this is the way that I prefer to find the slope. If I have 2 points, I think it's the quickest. You're welcome to still use the table if you prefer. So for example 5, we've got the slope of the line that passes through 5, 6, and negative 8, negative 2. So we are looking for our change in y over our change in x. So this is an x-coordinate, this is a y-coordinate, x-coordinate, y-coordinate. And so just to switch things up here, I'm going to make this the first and the first and the second here, just to show that it does not matter which ones you pick. So if I do this, then my formula tells me y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 is 6 minus, and then I'll have negative 2. Make sure you include the minus and the negative here. And then we'll have x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is negative 8. And so here, this double negative is going to become a positive here, so 6 plus 2 is 8. And here, double negative becomes a positive again, so 5 plus 8 gives us 13. So we get 8 over 13 is our slope. That will not reduce. Okay. A couple more important things about slope. The slope of a vertical line is undefined. Oh, if you want to think of how this would work a little bit, if you just picked a couple points on this line. So like the coordinates of this point are 3, 6, and let's pick a point here. The coordinates of this point are 3, negative 2. And so if we did the slope formula with this, we would have y2 minus y1, so negative 2 minus 6, over x2 minus x1. So 3 minus 3. And whenever we do that, negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. And 3 minus 3 is 0. And we cannot divide by 0. So this would mean that the slope is undefined for this one. The slope of a horizontal line is 0. Or sometimes you'll see it called no slope. But typically we just represent that with the number 0 to represent nothing. So if you think of this one, if you had to pick a couple points on this line, the coordinates of this point are negative 3, 4. And the coordinates of this point are 6, 4. And so if you do y1 minus y, or y2 minus y1, 4 minus 4, over, and then 6 minus negative 3. 4 minus 4 is 0. 6 minus negative 3, that's a double negative there, so it's really 6 plus 3. It's 9. And so 0 divided by 9 is 0. So we have a slope of 0 for a horizontal line for those. So if we're asked to find the slope of the line that passes through 2, 1, and 8, 1, we could do 1 minus 1, that's our y's, subtracted, over 8 minus 2. And so 1 minus 1 is 0. 8 minus 2 is 6. So 0 divided by 6 is 0. Now, if I had noticed right away, I could have said to myself that the y's are the same. That's going to be 0 in the top, so the answer is 0. But a lot of times I have to actually solve that out before I realize it. For example 7, we're supposed to find the slope of the line that passes through negative 8, 2 and negative 5, 4. So here you have your y's you have to subtract. So if I do x, y, I'll do this is the first one. This is the second one. So 4 minus 2 over negative 5 minus negative 8. Make sure here you've got that negative 8 there. The minus and the negative 8 both have to be there. And 4 minus 2 is going to give you 2. Right here you've got the double negative, so this is really negative 5 plus 8. And so negative 5 plus 8 is going to give you 3 there, so you get 2/3 for your slope of this line. Okay, and we're going to stop for the notes right here. We'll finish this other part on Monday.